You are listening to the Wi-Fi Ninjas podcast, where we talk about wireless technology. Here are your hosts, Mac Daring and Matt Starling.
Hello, my friends. It's Mac Daring from the Wi-Fi Ninjas here, and in today's episode, together with Matt, we will be discussing more details about Juniper JNCIS Mist AI course. We have just sat the 4 days class with an amazing instructor, Raymond Hendricks, and we've both passed the exam. So today we have some tips and tricks for you about how to prepare for the exam and how to get the most of the course, what we liked about all that stuff as well. We have Jussi Kiviniemi and Peter Mckenzie here with us as well. And this week, it's not like a Wi-Fi Ninjas typical podcast stuff. This is hosted by Juniper. It's like a Juniper webinar. But since it's very insightful and probably quite helpful if you want to take that exam, we've decided to share it with you as this week's podcast. Enjoy.
Well, alrighty, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you. Looks like we got a really good crowd with us for today's Open Learning webcast series. Specifically, we're going to be looking at the Wi-Fi class for the modern network engineer. It's behind the scenes and how to prep for it. So I'm Lawrence Rust. I'm one of the hosts today. Mostly I'll be hiding out in the background watching the chat window because we have a great number of smarter people with us that I'll introduce shortly. But I just wanted to run through a couple of quick introductory slides. So this is not a training session, just want to be clear about that, but more insight into the course and certification that Juniper offers to really get you into the Mist technologies. So that's the Juniper Mist AI driven networks course that you see there on the right. So we'll talk about that. It'll be a discussion of really the kind of the skill set required for this modern network wireless engineer, wireless network engineer, and some considerations when planning for and preparing for the certification exam. So that's the JNCIS Mist AI certification specifically. You can learn all about those courses if you take a look at those two URLs, juniper.net/course Mist and then /cert for JNCIS Mist AI. We'll get you to all the details about those. Couple other quick notes. If you want to learn more, maybe you know a lot about Mist, but you want to learn more about some of the other Juniper technologies, be sure to take advantage of the Juniper Open Learning Program. It's free technical training and discounted certifications for 5 of our associate level certifications, Cloud, Junos, DevOps, all the good stuff. And we'll be adding the JNCIA Mist AI very shortly to that program, juniper.net/open learning. And if you want to get kind of further up the stack, if you will, take a look at our learning paths, juniper.net learning paths. It shows kind of all the different Juniper technologies where we have training portfolio, and that will really get you into the hands-on specialist, professional, expert level certifications and training. And certainly if you are in a position where you know you're going to be doing a lot of Juniper training, take a look at the Juniper All Access Training Pass. It's every single Juniper training course that we offer, both in person or live online, as well as on demand. Those are full lab-based courses. You can take them all for an entire year for a really reduced price. Definitely something to look into if you'll be doing a lot of Juniper training. Want to mention we are very active on social, so these are just a couple of Juniper channels I want to call out. At Juniper Certify on Twitter. You can take advantage of our LinkedIn group where we got a good crowd of folks that talk Juniper training and certification. Certainly on Elevate, forums.juniper.net, and you can read through some of the others, including the corporate channels that you can take advantage of, the Facebooks, the LinkedIns, and the Twitters, and what have you. And really, last thing I want to mention, let's take advantage of the chat window. I know a whole bunch of folks here have already started using it. The experience is a lot better in these sessions when folks are active. You can ask questions, you can answer questions, you can heckle the presenters. However you want to do it, let's take advantage of it because they're a lot more entertaining that way. So what I do want to do now, I want to mention all of our guest presenters today from the Juniper side of the house. We have Jussi Kiviniemi, sorry, Jussi, I mispronounced that one, but he's our Wi-Fi janitor. I'll let you correct me on that one. I said it great 3 times earlier, but and Mac and Matt, the two Wi-Fi ninjas, are here with us, and Peter Mckenzie, the king of packets from MarQuest. They're the brains behind today's option. Behind today's session. So I'll go ahead and turn the mic over to UC. It's all yours.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. And on my behalf as well, thank you so much for joining. We have a great crowd today. Let's actually kick things off with quick introductions. Peter, why don't you start? Because you're kind of the man who's actually made this happen.
Okay, yeah, my name's Peter Mckenzie. For those who don't know me, one of I guess the reason I'm here is this class we're talking about is a course I wrote. Spent probably 4 to 5 months writing materials, writing labs, and I also was involved in the certification workshops for preparing the exams.
Thank you for joining, Peter. This was getting this started was a rigorous task of, I called Peter and, hey man, you game for this? And what did you say?
I said, absolutely not, UC. If you want me to do something, it's bound to be trouble. No, I for some reason said yes. It sounds like a great idea. Let's
we all
do
make
it.
Mistakes.
Yeah, but we all make mistakes. Yes.
Anyway, since we have Peter here, that allows also for us to go today behind the scenes of how this kind of a course is created. So stay tuned. Then we have Mac Dering on the line as well in his ninja outfit. Mac, how are you, man? Thank you for joining.
Super good. Thank you very much, UC. Thanks, Lawrence. Thanks, everyone, for having us here. I'm Mac Dering, one of 2 Wi-Fi ninjas, also working as a network engineer, focusing on Wi-Fi. And you mentioned my outfit. It's Mist outfit. Loving it. It's a very lightweight hoodie, excellent for this spring weather. It's a beautiful weather today in the UK. And I think that's it from the intro stuff. We've just attended the class a few days ago and passed both exams, JNCIA and IS as well. And we have some insights about how to prepare for the exam, what we liked about the class. If we didn't like something about the class, we are not allowed to tell you. No, I'm joking. So we will just focus on our real experience and how to prepare for the test and why we think you should take the class. So thank you.
And speaking of real experience, Mac, you are a wireless and networking engineer in general, and you're not just Mist, right? Your background, as with most people, is elsewhere. So you've done multi-vendor, right? So you can speak from practical multi-vendor perspective. Is that fair to say?
It is very fair to say, yes.
Thank you. It's an honor to have you here, as is Mr. Matt Starling, also experienced multi-vendor Reno. And you also went to the course, didn't you? Matt, why don't you introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, thank you, UC. So my name's Matt Starling. I'm also a Wi-Fi engineer, work with Mac, but we also do a podcast, video cast, lots of online blogs and stuff. So if you haven't heard about us before, we call ourselves the Wi-Fi Ninjas, and yeah, we attended the class last week. Really enjoyed it. Like you said, we've got quite a lot of experience in Wi-Fi now, not only with Mist, but working on other vendors. But also we've got quite a lot of experience on not being tied to vendors, so just how wireless works in general. So we've kind of gone all the way up the ladder for the CWMP certification program. So we're very I'd say aware of how Wi-Fi works. So yeah, really enjoyed the class, and thanks for inviting us on today.
Absolutely. And just, to kick things off, to build on Lawrence's excellent slide previously, I'll try to share my screen and a little bit explain on what we're up to here. I hope you can see my iPad.
Yep.
Maybe you can. Good. So oversimplified the whole Mist. If you're interested in learning Mist Wi-Fi, I guess the first thing would be what's called the Mist Master course. So this is an free of charge online course. Anyone can go there. I'll quickly show you in a bit how to get access. But it's a pretty long, good course, and it includes all kinds of things today, not just basic Wi-Fi. And then on top of that, we have Wi-Fi Fundamentals, I believe, which is a video series, also free of charge and inspired and mostly like created initially by the great Joel Crane of MetaGeek, previously of the Mist fame, previously of Ekahau fame. So definitely worth checking out, also free of charge. And then we have, when you have these done, I guess you're ready for the JNCIA Mist AI certification, right? That you guys just took. So this is kind of the entry-level actual certification. Well, you could say that Mist Master, you also get a cert, and after this one, you get a cert. Then there's the course, the actual 4-day course. I don't recall the actual name of it, but it's the 4-day. Let's call it the 4-day Mist course. And that's what we're primarily be talking about today, and that's what you guys just took. And then on top of the course, you have the JNCIS Mist AI cert, right? So you guys have pretty much passed these all, haven't you? Now.
Yeah, we took both the exams after attending the class, and thankfully we passed both of them. So now we have all of them.
Very good. And to me, like, really, the most important piece of the puzzle isn't listed here. I was just want to throw this out there. This is probably the most important thing that you want when you're doing training. It's the home lab environment, and nothing really replaces, whether you take the certs, take the courses or not, the kind of the fundamental thing for training would be a home lab.
I think I disagree with you here, UC. I think it's way more fun to learn on a live customer environment than in your home lab. So just practice on a customer's live environment instead.
You are right. You are right. If you're bold and a risk taker like Matt Starling here, then forget about the home lab. Just go with a theory and wing the rest. But if we quickly just take a look at where to find things. If you go to manage.mist.com, that's kind of the primary place for the Mist dashboard. Manage.mist.com. You go there, you will find something like this. So you can, even if you're not a Mist customer, you create the account and you immediately get access to the Mist dashboard. And from there on out, you right click on the question mark and it actually gives you access to all kinds of things. Like you can see, what kind of features have been, for example, added lately. We add features every couple of weeks. So that's all there. But I guess the most relevant thing for today is really the courses. So in here, you get instant access to the what's called the Mist Master certification. And what we just very recently added was the Juniper Mist Wired Assurance course. And I really enjoyed this. This is like, a very, very lightweight way of learning, not just Mist switching, how to utilize that, but also it gives you like a 20-minute, 30-minute tutorial to Junos, for example, which I think was short, sweet, and very, very good. So definitely recommend it. Again, manage.mist.com. That's where you find the most stuff. And the Juniper open learning site and the learning site, if you just Google JNCIS Mist AI, for example, you will find the link to the Mist AI certification track. And in there, you have the two levels, associate and specialist. And if you scroll down, you also have the recommended training. You have access to the getting started with Wi-Fi videos. It's all there. Anyway, just wanted to make that clear that there's tons of this stuff here. But why don't we talk about maybe we start with the training experience, Mac and Matt, since you're just fresh out of the course. That was last week, right? And that wasn't taught by Peter. The course was taught by Raymond Hendricks, one of the other rock stars in the Wi-Fi industry. Raymond comes from the Benelux area, has lots of consultancy experience with different brands of Wi-Fi. He's also, just like you guys, he's an Ecohout trainer, he's a CWNP trainer, and a Mist trainer as well. So if you had to summarize your experience with the course, with the teacher and everything, how would you describe it? What do you think, Matt? You want to go first?
Yeah, sure. And just before, I was obviously joking when I was saying about practicing on a live customer environment. I found that being able to, create an account with the Mist dashboard, but even without having any actual Mist hardware and being able to click around the dash and configure things, that is really, really helpful. But going back to the course, and especially Raymond was an amazing teacher. So I've known Raymond for quite a while now, but I haven't sat on any of his training classes, seen him talk at different various conferences, but actually to sit on a class with Raymond was really good. I really enjoyed his style, his expertise, and I really enjoyed the flow of the course. The course was great. Like, from obviously having quite a vast amount of Wi-Fi experience, it was really nice to attend the class and see that it wasn't just jumping straight into, this is how you configure things on Mist and just focusing on the vendor specific side of configuration to get you through the course. Actually, the first day is heavily concentrated on actually teaching you Wi-Fi fundamentals. So even if you've got little to no Wi-Fi experience, you can come on the class, and in the first day, you can really start to learn and pick up the key fundamentals of like how Wi-Fi works. So then when you then get to the next part of the course, where you actually do start to configure things in the Mist dashboard and how it works, you can imagine in students' heads, things we click in, we turn this on because it stops that from breaking, or we do this because of that. And it's all stuff that you learn from day one, which when you then implement during the rest of the course, it all starts to make sense. So I think it's really good for anyone at any level to come in, because you can have loads of experience and you can relearn some new stuff, and it's just good to go over things again. But also, if you haven't got much Wi-Fi experience, like on the class we was on, there's quite a lot of routing and switching guys that come on the class. So Wi-Fi was quite new to them. So it's kind of like the expression Raymond used for them would be like drinking water from the fire hose, because it's just a lot of information to try and take in. But it was really, really good, and it was really good to then see, throughout the rest of the class, Raymond would be back referencing, so, remember we turned this on because of that on day one, and you can see the students going, okay, makes sense now. But that was my kind of feedback. How about you, Mac? What did you think?
I agree with everything that you have just said, and I just wanted to add that this is one of the 3 best classes I have ever attended. Okay, so there are 2 facts contributing to this. First, that is written by Peter, and if you haven't attended Peter's classes before, think about it. Like, really, really amazing content writer. I know, Peter, that you are there, so you can blush now with a camera on. But it's really, really amazing, right? And then it was delivered by Raymond, which is a veteran, really, in the Wi-Fi industry. And you can feel that. It's not like a dry training thing. It's based on real life examples in a real experience. He's talking about solving real issues. He's talking about real use cases. So it's not like the academic experience. It's like more of a real life, real Wi-Fi issues, demoing and labbing. It's absolutely smashing to be able to go through this journey throughout the 4 days course. So the first day, I think it's absolutely amazing, because it gives you these fundamentals that are absolutely required for you to understand what you're doing, why you are doing this, without thinking about where you want to do it yet. So you don't care about, Mist dashboards at that point. You don't care about the APIs. You focus on very basics that are really required for you to understand what you are going to be doing throughout the next 3 days. Another amazing thing in this class is the lab environment provided by Juniper. So I was blown away by this. This was the first time I was taking a Juniper class, like the official one. So access to labs, it's so sleek. Guys, you just access the labs from the web browser. It doesn't log you out. It's not slow. It's sleek. It's extremely easy to access, to have like, a lab computer on your right-hand side of the screen, and then a lab book, a courseware or lab, I don't know how to call it, the lab manual on the left-hand side by side, and it just works. It scales automatically. It's not laggy. It's amazing. So it feels like you are working on your own computer, pretty much. Okay, so it's fantastic. So I think that's it from the high level. I can talk about what I liked about the class all day if I wanted to, but I don't want to steal an entire session.
Yeah, no, I just want to emphasize what Max said about the labs. The labs were really, really good. So not only from the content wise, but from the way of accessing the labs. Didn't have to install any application. Like we both use Macs, but I think everyone else in the class was on Windows, and it didn't matter. We were using Safari, some people were using Windows and using Chrome, and it just worked. You just logged in and you had remote access to a laptop and then a desktop machine, and then you could start, accessing the lab environment. So I thought that was really good without having to install some kind of application or have a specific type of version of a laptop or operating system to be able to access the lab environment was really, really good. And like Max said, it wasn't like annoying or buggy, didn't log you out. It just worked, and it worked really, really well. So I was actually really impressed with how well the lab worked. And plus the labs are good fun as well. Some of the labs that we got up to I really liked. It's nice because we know Peter, you can kind of like work out how he's thinking and to kind of like trick people and break things, and then to get you thinking about how and why this has been broken and then to try and fix it. So I quite enjoyed that side of it as well.
So let's talk about the content a little bit. Peter, you mind sharing like some of the bits and pieces of the content that maybe some of the highlights or some of the things Mac just mentioned. Why don't you give us some kind of a sneak peek into some of the elements shown here? If you want to steal the screen.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to just say kudos to the lab guys at Juniper for putting the labs together. I gave them some pretty hard requirements, I think, for what I wanted the labs to do. And they built me one lab environment, and then I got them to rebuild it for me because it wasn't quite doing what I said. So they were fantastic. So the fact that the labs do just work, that there's a lot of hard work has gone into that. So really, yeah, just thumbs up to them for that.
Very
but
cool.
Yeah, let's share some content. And again, people feel free to chip in. And what I thought we'd do is I'm not going to show you loads of slides because people are like to see lots of slides. But I'll show you a couple because the structure of the course is day one is all about learning Wi-Fi theory. So I'll show you a couple of slides from that, an example of some of the stuff we talk about. Day two is then all about configuring a Mist system, get one up and running. Then we go into monitoring, and then we go into location and AI. So I wanted to show you a little bit of a trip through the class, really, trying to cover all those elements within 20 minutes, half an hour, depends on how long we've got. So let me, first of all, just share a couple of screens to give you an idea of some of the things that you'd be learning on day one. I'm going to give you a very quick example of some of the things we talk about and try and talk about why it's important to know it as well. So I will share my screen. Okay. Hopefully you are seeing my screen. Now, what you're seeing here is looks like a fairly boring diagram. But why is it important when we're talking about wireless to learn something called the inverse square law? Well, the inverse square law is an important thing to learn when thinking about how an RF signal travels through the air when it leaves an antenna and how it loses power. So as we transmit an RF signal, it loses power as it transmits through the air. And so as that signal degrades, we actually have a law which allows us to be able to calculate how much power is lost. So let's work through a little bit of an example here. If we take a point, a distance from the antenna, which we're going to call R, and this distance here, we measure the power at. Now, whatever the power is measured at R, if we go twice that distance, 2R, we know that the power will be a quarter of the power it was at R, because that's what the inverse square law says. If we go to 4R, it's going to be 1/16 of the power. Now, so basically what the inverse square law is saying is that every time you double the distance, you get quarter of the power. That's a simple way of putting it. So why is that important to know? Well, it's all about calculating something called free space path loss, which is when we want to calculate how fast a signal drops off as it leaves an antenna. Now here we've got an access point on this slide transmitting, and with a transmit power in the 2.4 gigahertz band at 8 dB, and in the 5 gigahertz band, it's 14 dB. And if we take our 1 meter from the AP and look at the power when we get to 1 meter, we're actually receiving the power in 2.4 gigahertz at minus 32 dBm, and in the 5 gigahertz minus 33 dBm. Now, if we apply our inverse square law to this, if we go to 2 meters, it means our power will be a quarter. Or also, when we talk in dB, that's 6 dB. 6 dB is a quarter of the power. So what we see is every time we double our distance from 1 to 2, or from 2 to 4, from 4 to 8, from 8 to 16, we lose 6 dB of power. So you can see the speed at which we lose power, of the distance over which we lose power, is increasing as we get further away from the AP. So what a lot of people don't understand is that most of our power is lost over that first meter. Most of the power is lost over that first meter. Have a look at it. We are going from, on the 5 gigahertz, 14 dBm to minus 33 dBm over the first meter. So we have lost, 47 dB of signal just over that first meter. Of that, the power has just disappeared. So when we're talking about receiving Wi-Fi signals, we're talking about receiving very, very low, tiny signals. That's what we're talking about. An example I like to give, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen very quickly so you can see my camera. Here is my Apple Pencil from my iPad. It's not an antenna, but I want you all to imagine it's an antenna. I'm going to try and, just because I like hogging the screen, I'm going to spotlight my video for everyone. So now imagine this is an antenna. Now imagine I measured the power at 1 centimeter from this antenna, just 1 centimeter. Whatever power I measured at 1 centimeter, if I went to 2 centimeters, it'd be a quarter of the power. If I went to 4 centimeters, it's now a 16th of the power. Do you see how fast the signal just drops off as it leaves an antenna? This is one of the concepts that we try and teach in the first day of the Mist course. Sometimes these are concepts which people don't really understand. They just think, hey, I can put an AP up and it's going to work fine. But when we think about how much power we lose close to an AP, now does it matter if we put an access point in a corridor outside the room where it's going to be used? Or does it matter if we put an AP above a drop ceiling? Well, it does. We want to get APs close to our users as possible, so we've got them as much signal as to where our users are as we can. That's just one of the concepts we teach. There's lots more I could say about it, but we'll run out of time on this video. Let's talk about some of the practical sort of demos we give on this class as well. One of the things that we talk about is how do you go about installing and claiming an AP? So as we move into day 2, we talk about access points. I've got an AP here. And let's say I want to claim and add it to my Mist organization. Well, one of the tools we look at is something called, it is a tool which we use on a phone. and it's called the Mist AI app. And I want to show you how we can use that to add an access point to an organization very quickly. So I am just going to very quickly share my screen with you guys again. Before I do that, I am going to just pull up my phone on my screen. So we are going to share my screen again. And I am going to mirror my phone screen on here. Perfect. And I'm going to launch this Mist AI app that we have. And I have access to lots of organizations, Mist orgs, but we're going to launch this organization, which you can all see. And lots of things I can do through this app, but we're interested in claiming an access point. And I'm actually going to claim it to one of my sites. It's a site at the bottom called Marquette's, which is where I'm currently sat. So I click on that site, and you can see I've got this option to claim APs. I've currently only got one AP. It's called Office AP at this site. So I'm going to claim another AP to the site. And I'm going to click the claim AP. So I'm going to, and it gives me the option if I can scan a QR code, which is just on the back of the access point. So here's my access point, and I am going to claim that AP. Now, having done that, I may then want to start installing that AP. But there's a few things I can do. I can give it a name. So I'm going to call it AP01. I can also place it on a map. So I can pick a map, and I can say, where am I going to install this? Well, I'm actually going to install it just behind where I'm going to sit, and I can specify an orientation of it and click set. So I've placed it on a map. I might want to now physically do the installation. So again, if I just quickly stop sharing, I'm going to come back to sharing in a minute. And let everyone see my screen again. I'm just going to install this AP. So I'll bring it into camera, a little tripod, and I'm going to plug in a power cable onto it. And
so Mac, was this an exercise you also did in the course? Did you actually physically, take the barcodes and everything? And
Kind of. So we didn't have access. This is a virtual class, right? So we didn't have access to a physical kit, but we were claiming our own access points using their serial numbers, claim codes, to add them to the Mist dashboard.
very good.
So as we can see now, I have my AP installed, very professional job. I've even got a PoE battery to power it, so I'm going to plug it in and turn it on. And you can probably see the little LED flashing on it. It is nicely installed. I'm just going to go quickly back to my app though. And what I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to now take a picture because I've installed it. So we can see show AP photographs. There isn't one. So I'm going to click the add photograph, and I am going to take a nice picture of my newly installed AP. There we go. Now, I have done that. I've got that picture. I'm going to click save. And I've just installed an AP and set it up running. Now, you might think that's great, Peter. Let's have what I want to quickly do is move to the Mist dashboard, which I'm going to show you as well. But just before I do that, why do I love that tool? I want to think about if I've got an installation engineer, let's say, who's going to go on site and install tools for me. I want to give them a tool they can easily use. So I don't actually need to be on site doing it. Now, they could use their phone, but I just want to quickly mention this Ethoscope Annex G tool, which NetLE do. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is this runs Android, and it is a cable tester. It is a Wi-Fi tester. I can do survey on it. I can view things like that. But it also, because it runs Android, I can run the Mist app on it. So I could give this tool to an installer who could pull the cables, use the tool to test the cables. I get a report back to the cloud. They can test the Wi-Fi using this tool. They can also run the Mist app on this tool. And I'm not giving them multiple devices, one tool, and they can do everything they need to install and claim the AP for me. So I just think that's a great way if you've got an installer who may be, doing stuff like that. Now, let me go back to the Mist dashboard because I want to show you something clever here. So I'm just going to share my screen again. Something I think is clever anyway. Here is my AP01 on the dashboard. It's claimed to the site. Okay, so I've claimed it, it's there, but look at it. No Ethernet link. And now, why isn't it not an Ethernet link? Well, people, if you can still see my video or not, I plugged it into a PoE battery, but I didn't plug anything into the other end of the PoE battery. I've not given it an Ethernet connection, just power. So it's connected, it's powered, but it's got no data connection. Hang on a minute. Think about that for a minute. How on earth does the Mist dashboard, the Mist cloud, know that I've got an access point powered up with no data connection if my access point hasn't got a data connection to tell the cloud it hasn't got an Ethernet link? Magic. And everybody knows me, knows I love a good magic trick, and this is a good magic trick. It doesn't have a connection to the network, let alone the internet, and yet it's managed to tell the Mist cloud it doesn't have an Ethernet link. I would at least expect it to say just unavailable or not connected or down, but somehow no Ethernet link. How amazing is that? Don't you love a good magic trick? Now, I'll let you know, I don't normally tell people how my magic tricks are done, but I'll tell you how this one's done. What's happening is every Mist AP has a BLE radio in there. So it's got a Bluetooth BLE radio. And when it has a connection fault, it might be no Ethernet link, it could be no IP address, it sends out a BLE sort of, you can think of it as a distress advertisement message. Hey, I've got an issue, a little code in it. Now, any other Mist AP that happens to hear that and is connected to the cloud will report to the cloud, hey, this MAC address, this AP doesn't have an Ethernet link. And now my Mist dashboard can tell me that. So it sent a message to another Mist AP that is connected to the cloud, and it comes up on my dashboard and tells me it doesn't have an Ethernet link. How great is that?
It's very good. Also, another way you can tell is just by the way it's flashing behind you, right?
Absolutely. You can tell from it's doing 2 flashes, and you can tell that.
That's pretty amazing, right? From Mist. So even, even if you can't see your dashboard, but the AP is actually telling you what the problem is by the code that is blinking. So if it wasn't an Ethernet problem, say it was a different type of problem, it would also tell you that as well. So your installers, they, if they haven't got access to the cloud, maybe just installed access points. If they know the different link codes, they could actually report back and start to investigate why they were having an issue.
They could, and that's if you've got very intelligent installers, which obviously the Wi-Fi ninjas probably use. But from my point of view, that never happens. So what do? I come into the dashboard and go, no Ethernet link. Let me click on that AP. Now look at this. Oh, I've got an image. Hang on, where has that come from? It doesn't have an Ethernet link. Well, that came from the Mist app, which could have been by 3G, 4G. It sent it to the cloud. And I can see, hang on, they've only plugged it into a PoE battery with no Ethernet connection, and it's a messy cable. That's not where it's meant to be installed. I can phone them up and say, before they leave site my installers, and say, you need to go back, look at that AP. I can even see what they've done wrong, and I can direct them to what needs to happen. And I love that. I love the fact that I can see all of that. I've got that visibility, and I can be fixing the issue while they're still on site. I'm not waiting like they've been on site, they've left, and now I'm seeing lots of issues and I've got to send someone back. I've got all that information from the app, and I can get them to go ahead. I can get them to get a proper Ethernet cable and plug it in and fix it, which I will just do now, and fix that AP's location. So that's something I love about Mist. It's something we talk about on the cloud. We can see, the picture, or the name, even the location. Oh, where have they put it? I can have a look and say, oh, is that the actual right place for it, or should it be in another location? So I've got all of that visibility, even though the AP isn't online yet.
So Peter, I have a question for you now that you're showing, the Mist dashboard and the features and all of that. So, for example, today was a production push for Mist, where we got new features to not just Wi-Fi but also switching, and there's firmware upgrades, for example, for the Juno switches just I believe released today, and all that kind of stuff. So my question is, how do you, as a trainer, and then the same question to Mac and Matt, like how does this impacted in the student experience? But as a trainer, how do you cope with a system that changes, every 2 weeks or something like that? And how do you document that? And how do you create course material for that?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. One thing we learned very early on in the creation of this course, because as I was writing it, I said it was over our 4-month product period. The dashboard and the product kept changing. So I was producing material and then it was out of date. So we took that into consideration. So for one thing, the slide materials are very picture orientated, so that they can adapt. There's a lot of demo in the dashboard. So you're not looking at slides all the time. Therefore, instructors can, when new features come out, we just demo the new features. And the course is also what the Juniper Education Services are calling a live course. It's constantly being updated. So every sort of 3 weeks, 4 weeks, it gets a refresh. So it's constantly being updated. Now, as an instructor, that means we've got to be on our toes. Something I love though, the fact that, sorry, I've just clicked on the wrong. I love on the dashboard that I can come up to the question mark and I can come in here and I can see feature updates. So every time there's a push, I come in here, I click on it, and I can start to see, wants me to accept cookies. But I can come in here and I can see what the latest push was, and it's, the great thing about this is it's never a long document. So I can review it in a few minutes, and I now know what the features are, and then what's the next thing I'm going to do? I'm going to go and play with those features. And within sort of 20 minutes, I've got familiar with the new stuff.
So what about from the student perspective, Mac and Matt? You have you're used to working with all kinds of Wi-Fi infrastructure, including kind of this this more traditional infrastructure where you have, controllers and controllers of controllers and location boxes and all of that stuff, and CLI, and fairly static systems that click here, click here, click here. How was this like kind of a newer kind of approach to a product also reflected in the course? How did that make you feel as a student? Was there a difference in some of the other courses you have taken?
Who are you asking?
Either one, a person whose name starts with M and an A.
Okay, since Matt is not answering, I might. So the course, it doesn't feel like it's scripted too much to the point where it just tells you click here, click there, do that, do this. It doesn't do that for you. It doesn't hold your hand all the time, especially in the labs. So you are forced to look around on your own, and you are being tested on understanding of a topic and not on like I don't know, like remembering the structure of the UI that changes, quite frequently. So that's what I liked. Like Peter says in the lab manual, do like I don't know, like set the RRM to something, and then it doesn't tell you like click on Wi-Fi, click on RRM radio. It just tells you like adjust this, adjust that. So it asks you to achieve something and not necessarily where to click to do it. That's what I liked. And that's what was different.
So in a way, it forces you to learn the UI as you go, and that's kind of an assumption that you know how to navigate a modern
yes,
UI.
Because like typically when you know what you're looking for, you will find it, and it is better to be done this way, because when you see step by step what to do in the lab manual, you do it and you forget it, okay? And if you are forced to click around a little bit, then when you find it yourself, it will stay in your head, I guess. I think that was the thinking about it, behind it. And also it's never too difficult. So you are never like left for 30 minutes hanging, looking for things, asking people around. Typically you are able to find it within seconds or minutes, but it's just more valuable.
Very good. And another reason to have a home lab, so that you kind of stay, get more intimate and familiar with the UI. Matt, was this also like, this slightly different way of training and product also reflected in the test itself? How did you feel about the, let's say, this JNCIS test and the JNCIA test?
I really enjoyed both of the exams. The obviously the Mist AI, the associate level exam, was not as challenging as the specialist, but that's kind of what you'd expect. But there were some very good questions in there that test not only your Wi-Fi knowledge from the theory that you learned from the class, but also how you do navigate to get to certain areas of the UI, and like what would be the repercussions if you was to change a certain type of configuration, like what would be the outcome of that. Or it would just simply ask you on like different ways of how can you do things. I don't want to say too much and give away some of the questions that I got during the exam, but there was lots of really good Wi-Fi theory questions, lots of good of how to configure the dashboard, but also what would be the outcome if you was to do something as well. So also thinking about maybe the troubleshooting process, or if you turn something off or turn something on, how that would affect a client. So I really enjoyed it. And yeah, we're taking some other vendor specific exams with some of the virtual labs that are in there. I definitely enjoyed the Mist Juniper exams with the questions and the exhibits.
Very good, thank you. And Peter, any other things you'd like to highlight from the course itself? I know it has a ton of good material, and I'm just going to throw this out there, and I know you're not prepared in any of these, but for example, like a pretty unique concept for Mist is SLEs, or the service level expectations, and they also like live their own life continuously. For example, I think this week we added more granularity, a lot more granularity to the ARP and DHCP analysis of the successful connects SLE.
Absolutely.
Do you have anything to show or tell, maybe show and tell about the SLEs of Mist and how you kind of started drilling down and putting those into a training curriculum? Because we didn't really have much, did we, before you started about SLEs? Like we didn't, you had to actually go talk to the most technical people in the company to understand some of the actual bits and bytes of the service level expectations and how to troubleshoot with them.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. It was, I guess it was a little bit challenging to begin with because we didn't have necessarily all the detail on I'm one of these people who it's great to be told that there's a problem, but I'm always like, well, what does that problem really mean and how have we got to that point? So on the, let me just do some sharing off my screen again. Give me 1 second.
Sounds good. And if you want me to share mine, I have the SLEs open here as well. Here we go. So this is a service level dashboards, and it's looking at the concept is looking at user experience. So all of these are telling me what's the user experience like? Can the user successfully connect? That are having a good performance on the wireless network? That's really what this dashboard's all about. And we have these SLEs. There's 7 of them. And we've got a percentage of how often it's been successful. And we can see there's various classifiers trying to tell you where it's not been successful. Why is it not been successful? And some of these is fairly obvious. You know, if someone's failed association connecting to a network, I know what that means. We come down to throughput and it says there's network issues. And it might say, I haven't got any network issues because obviously my network's perfect. But if I had 20% network issues when I first saw that, what does that mean? So what we try and do in the class, and I won't, I should have done that a different way. Excuse me a second. And what we try and do in the class is we try and break it down. So I'm not going to go over these in a lot of detail, but I'll just show you an example slide. We take the XLE in each classifier, and we really try and look into, well, what is each classifier telling me, and what does it mean, and how is it calculated? How come I'm not surprised that you did it on a packet trace, using a packet trace as an example?
Absolutely. So they were the sort of things we looked at trying to achieve. And then what we take, and once we understand what it's telling us, then we take people through like a troubleshooting procedure for the SLEs. So you can see, for example, I've got 85% of all my connections are successful. Sounds good. But that also means that 15% of all connections on my network failed for some reason. And I may want to investigate that. And in the class, we go through a procedure for drilling down into that. So I can see out of my 15 that failed, 92% of them were authorization issues. And I might be interested, okay, well, which devices were affected by that? And I can see that, oh, actually, it's just one device. It's this training laptop here. I could click on that and I can get an idea which network they're failing on. I can click JNCIS, and now I'm just really focused on that one device that's having difficulties. I can see when their issue started, and I can see they're having these authorization failures. And it tells me a sort of summary of why they're failing. And then probably one of my favorite features of Mist is dynamic packet captures. Every time these bad events occur, Mist has already saved all the packets relating to that event to the cloud, and it's available to me here as a packet capture, and I can click this link and it's going to open it in CloudShark for me. And there's
you don't even need You don't even need a packet analyzer to.
No, I don't even need a packet
demo that,
analyzer,
or
and I can start to look at this in a bit of detail. Now, because I've got an account with CloudShare, I can apply my own sort of profile to it as well and color the packets. And I can start to look at, where's that problem going wrong. Here I can see there's an EP request, and the client is providing its identity, and actually there's no response ever comes back from the Radiate server. So it just repeats and repeats and repeats.
So first you were looking at, the field of haystacks from 30,000 feet, and now all of a sudden you're at the needle.
Yeah, all of a sudden I know exactly where it is. My Radiate server isn't responding, and I can go up and try and find out why that is the case. So that's one of the examples we go through in the course. And I actually, in one of the labs, is actually the students troubleshooting this issue. They have to go and troubleshoot it, figure it out, and work out what the issue is.
Okay. Hey, shifting gears a little bit. Should we talk a little bit about the exam itself? And there's people like, before we jump into like how to prep for the exam, should we first talk about, aside from like we already looked at, like what do we have available for Juniper, but what's the best ways outside of that to prep for this course? What do you think? Are there any prerequisites that are official? And what would you guys study, outside of the official prerequisites? So actually, let's start with Mr. DeRing. What do you think? How would you prep for this course? Let's say that you were not that familiar with Wi-Fi as you are.
Okay. So if I'm not familiar with Wi-Fi, I wouldn't be too worried about that, because the course covers the basics that you require to know to pass the exam. But I would focus my attention on doing a live labs. I would try to get my hands on like a Mist access point if possible. Even if it's not possible, as Matt has mentioned, I would still poke around the GUI and see what's possible, what's there, what's available, how things click together. Where do you configure the SSID? How do you apply to the site? How do you use configuration templates? On what levels? Is it on the organizational level, on a site level? How can you leverage these templates to fast, quick deploy your set of SSIDs and policies throughout the different sites that you might have within your organization? So you want to understand the basic building blocks of Mist solution in order to pass the exam. The good thing about the course is that vast majority of topics, things are covered, but because not all of them must be covered as part of the course. So the course is just like one part of the learning path to be a specialist Mist Juniper user. So from me, tip number one, get your hands dirty with Mist dashboard, and preferably with a Mist access point as well. Matt, what do you think?
So what I would do is I would go over to wifininjas.net and start listening to some podcasts, reading some blogs, watching some videos, gaining a little bit of Wi-Fi theory before attending the class, and it will help you a little bit.
Advertisement alert, advertisement alert. But yeah, I would agree. Wi-Fi Ninjas is a great place to boost your Wi-Fi knowledge for sure.
Yeah, there's tons of free like Wi-Fi training content out there. And if you look on YouTube, not just from us, like loads of people that have got lots of like free Wi-Fi content out there. If I wasn't familiar with Wi-Fi, I'd maybe just listen to a few podcasts, watch some videos of some conferences, try and get like some basic understanding. And then yeah, what I would definitely do is go on to the managedmist.com, create myself an account, start having to play and poke around the Mist UI, so I can get familiar with like where you go to configure WLANs, how you would configure RRM, and then I would definitely check out the courses that are available for free and then just run through those courses. Each video, no video is longer than like 10 minutes, I would say. So they're very like bite-sizable chunks of videos that you can go through, start watching them, and then start making notes. I'm a serial note taker, so I've got a massive OneNote for all of my notes for all of my classes that I attend. So I like to make notes, and then try and attend the class if you can. Like these classes are virtual now, so you can attend from the comfort of your own home, and it doesn't, I don't think it makes a massive difference if it was in person or if it was virtual. I think the way the class is delivered is really good. I like the photos that you see during the class of how the lab is set up, so you can see like all of the access points and how they're installed in the racks for all the machines. It's really it's good fun plus good learning. So if you can, I would recommend getting on the class, and that's definitely going to prepare you for the associate and the specialist exam if that's what you're aiming towards.
Very cool. So
And
Peter, how does this work? Like, is there a prerequisite for the class, and is the class prerequisite for the JNCIS exam? How does it work on?
The class isn't a prerequisite for the exam. You know, it's meant to be an industry certification that you can self-study for. You could go a lot, you know, many different ways. But what I would say is I would highly recommend the class if you're going to take the exam. So it's by no way a prerequisite, but it does covers all you need to know to pass the exam. And I'd also just like to highlight the JNCIS Genius site, where you can log on, you can get practice tests. So taking practice tests is a great way to prepare for an exam and test your own knowledge before taking it. I've also just finished recording for both the JNCIA and JNCIS Mist AI certification prep videos. I've been told they're probably going to be published mid-March. Nice. On the JNCIS Genius site. So they are going to be videos. Now, they're not a replacement to taking the class. That's what I want to say. They are certification prep videos. So they're going to remind you of all the things you need to know for the exam, and probably all the concepts that you taught on the class. You know, these are things you need to study, but we're not going to go into detail in them in the prep videos. They're like 10, 20-minute, 30-minute videos on each exam objective. That comes up. So yes, we cover some detail, but we're not going to go into all the detail that we do on a class.
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to echo what you said, Peter, about the JNCIS Genius and the practice test. After we finished the class, once we finished the class, me and Mac, we both went and done, there's a practice test for the associate level and there's a practice test for the specialist level as well. We took the practice test before we took the official test, and that definitely helps as well.
Yeah, and taking the class, I mean, there's really no substitute, I guess, for it. There's a few things. First of all, there's of course the content. Secondly, you know, with this particular class especially, like there's industry rock stars training, so there's like so much also kind of this added field experience and war stories. But thirdly, what I like about like taking the class itself is just it forces you, especially for attention deficit people like myself, it forces you to take your time to really learn the matter. Otherwise, it's like bits and pieces on the internet every now and then, and that's just less effective in the long run for me, at least, to deeply learn something.
Yeah, and the class and the content is extremely engaging. There was not any point during the class where I was bored. Like, even though there was a lot of topics that I was extremely comfortable with, the way that, you know, hearing different instructors explain concepts and theories is still really interesting and really valuable to, you know, relearn or just to, you know, go over things again. So at no point during the class did I think this wasn't valuable. Even myself being a CWNE, I still found it really, really valuable attending the class. So I would really recommend it as well if people are thinking about, you know, joining the class. It's definitely got a massive thumbs up for me.
And is there any like gotchas or some like specific things that people really should learn for the certification tests?
Well, for me personally, like, I'm not that strong with coding and APIs and things like that. So when we got to that part of the class, I really had to, you know, focus, and everything else I was pretty comfortable with, like, because I've deployed Mist for quite a few customers now. So I'm very comfortable setting up Mist dashboard and getting access points joined and configuring, but the actual automation side and the APIs, that was something that I personally had to struggle with. So when we got to that part of the labs, it took me longer to do it because, I had to really pay attention and go slowly and focus doing it. Whereas if I was trying to do that on my own, I'd really struggle. So it gave me a real nice platform and some real good examples to, go home and start playing with after. So yeah, for me, that was a gotcha for me. Other people might be stronger with coding and might be struggle with wireless LAN concepts. So I think it depends on the person for sure.
That's a really good point, because for the modern Wi-Fi engineer, I mean, things like Python and basics of APIs and stuff like that, it is getting more and more, not essential yet, but more and more useful, and also like career-wise, just overall a smart move. So maybe just, you can also start accessing the Mist API like right off the bat, and it's ready to go. And there's the API documentation there as well available. So I mean, it's pretty easy to start tapping into it, maybe download Postman or something like that, and just do simple queries and see what goes in, what comes out, this kind of stuff. Daring, what do you think? Any special secret hidden advice for the people either taking the course or the test itself?
Yeah, be patient. Don't rush it. Don't just do half a good job. Just be prepared and don't rely on luck. Because remember that most of the questions were written by Peter, and luck won't help you there. So you must understand the concepts really.
Very cool. Very cool. What about Peter? Any advice for people still like, any inside tips? And be liberal. I mean, you made the course, so you can give some, secret tips for the audience. There aren't that many people listening anyway. Just a few hundred.
Just a few hundred. That's okay then. I think that the key is for me, a good certification should ask questions which there's only one right answer to. And if you know it, it's easy. If you don't know it, it's going to be very hard. So what I mean by that is the wrong answers shouldn't be so obviously wrong that, well, actually, even though I don't know the answer, I can still get my question right. So we try and avoid questions like that when writing the exam. And also, but there shouldn't be any trick in the question. It shouldn't be so difficult to understand the question that you have no idea what it's asking, that you can't answer it. You may know the answer if you could just understand what the question is. So I think the questions are fairly clear. So I wouldn't worry about that. But there's but you do need to know it. If you don't know the answer, we're not going to help you out in the question. So my tip would be, it's when trying to learn for certification, I'm always a big believer in taking all the information you can. So come and sit the class. As you've said, you see all the instructors are really great guys. You're going to learn a lot. Do the practice test. Have a play with the Mist system. Try and use all the available knowledge to get that knowledge. So when you come to sit the class, you will have the knowledge and you'll get to the questions and they'll be easy because you're like, oh, I know that. Oh, I know that. I don't even need to see the multi-choice answers because I know the answer to those questions. So I would, there's loads of resources available. There's a class, there's going to be the certification prep videos, there's a practice test, anyone can sign up to a Mist account and have a play about. So use the resources available to really further your knowledge. And if you do that, you will, I think you'll fly through the exam because we're not trying to trick you in the exam. There's not not the trick questions. If you've got the knowledge, I'm pretty comfortable you'll pass.
Very good. And this just, to make it clear, this isn't just a Wi-Fi course either. It does include the wired assurance portion, like a little bit of switching and especially from the UI perspective as well. There was a good question from, just switching gears quickly, there was a good question from Bruce about like, what does this course involve in terms of, for example, does it involve AI fundamentals? Do we talk about, AI's relationship, machine learning relationship to data science and reinforcement learning, deep learning, all of that? Do we cover any of that? I'm sure it doesn't go at least very deep, but is there a kind of the AI fundamentals and terminology? Is it there?
Yeah, so we definitely cover AI terminologies, and something I wanted to do when writing the course was just come up with almost a one-sentence description of some of these AI terms, because I think they're branded around in the industry so much, and often incorrectly. Everyone's got AI and machine learning now, and most people don't really know what those terms mean. So we do cover a little bit of terminology on the course, but the focus of it is more on learning how it's used in MIST. So the reinforcement learning algorithm, for example, is how RRM works. So we do cover what a reinforcement learning algorithm is and how that works. But it's definitely the general AI concepts is more in definition, really, making sure that we've got a good definition of what some of these concepts are.
Very good, very good. And who knows, maybe we'll have a more advanced, training anyway regarding MIST later on, and it may include more of the AI fundamentals as well. And I'm sure, like Bruce's question also said, like, do we explain microservices and system infrastructure and all of that? That we do, right?
That we do, yes.
Yeah. So just FYI, I hosted an AI panel with some actual AI experts on, was it last week or the week before, and I posted a link on the chat as well. Definitely, watch that as well. It's not MIST specific per se, but it has like there was Ed from Dell and Marcel from Red Hat and all of that. So definitely, if you want to learn more about AI, it's on the chat board as well. Anything else we should still cover before? I know we're running low on time, but Peter, anything else we should cover before signing off? Anything you'd like to say?
Well, one thing I think I would say is just that, just to touch on it, we've talked a lot about some of the basic concepts, but the class does go into, some of the more advanced stuff as well. In terms of, we talk about how the locationing works and the BLE location. We haven't got time to sort of chat through that now. We talk through how we can use the MIST API calls as well, and really get people started with them. I could quickly just show one thing you can do once you start to understand MIST API calls, if we have time, very quickly.
We do have, yeah. Go, man.
Let me just quickly show you my home network. Now, for people now, I've got 3 children. And actually, if you're looking at my screen now, you can see the 3 names. There's Anna, Joshua, and Luke. Now, Luke's just turned a teenager, and I don't know if you've got teenage children, but they just spend most of their time in their bedrooms, and they grunt a lot, but they don't communicate much. And if you want to get them downstairs for tea, you're like shouting up the stairs, "Tea's ready, dinner's ready, can you come down?" And they've got their headphones on and they don't communicate with you. So it's a challenge. So I've got, even though this is a MIST course, I've got a top parenting tip for you. Okay, this is Peter's top parenting tip. Using the policies in MIST that control what wireless users can do. Each of these labels for my children have all their devices on. So the label for Luke, it's got his Switch, it's got his Alexa, it's got his phone, it's got all the devices he has. And this rule says, a big cross, don't allow him access to any resources. Basically disable all his internet access. Now it's disabled at the moment, this rule, but if I want to get a teenager downstairs and I turn up their internet access, it's amazing how fast they appear downstairs. In fact, it's amazing. They just appear like that. So this is my top tip. Now, of course, when I'm in the kitchen or I'm at home, I don't always have access to the Mist dashboard, do I? I've got to go to my computer, fire it up, click here, enable the rule. It's okay. Well, this is where API calls come in, because what I can do now, you can see that the rule's disabled. If I just get my phone and say, I'm essentially going to go, hey Siri, disable Luke's internet.
That's done.
Siri says that's done. Let me refresh this page. And that rule is now enabled. And Luke is now going to be running downstairs at home shouting at my wife. So just before that happens, hey Siri, enable Luke's internet.
Wi-Fi is already turned on.
Oh, sorry, just one sec. Hey Siri, enable Luke's internet.
Okay.
And that's now done. So if I refresh this page again, that rule will go back to being disabled. So that's one way, and now he can connect to the internet again. So it's a bit of a fun example, but it's a great way that you can use Mist, you can use the APIs, you can use the policies, and, you know, good bit of parenting advice there for you.
Peter, I have one request. If you can put the phone close to your mouth again, I have to take a screenshot of this and post it on Twitter, how you're teasing your kids live on air on a webinar. Thank you. That's a great demo. Thank you so much. And Mist also, like there was questions, the Q&A board about like home use, and is Mist suitable for home use, and is there benefits and stuff like that. Absolutely. I would Google Mist work from home solution or something like that. But we have a really, really good home/dorm room /hospitality AP, which has, you know, it has several Ethernet ports. It's really good form factor. It comes, or you can get it with a really nice desk stand, or it goes nicely bolted into the wall. Just really, really a fantastic product. You know, university dorms, some universities have deployed these by the thousands and said, you know, their problems have just absolutely disappeared since. So highly recommend checking them out. Google Mist work from home. That was also advertisement, so I'll put an advertisement alert right there.
I haven't had that up, but it's like, you know, we are all working from home, and since I put Mist in, my wife had a feedback from her workplace that she's never had a better voice and video quality. And the only thing that's changed was the Wi-Fi, not the environment.
But your apartment got colder, didn't it? There was no more controllers heating your apartment.
Yes, that's a big problem, guys, because I used to dry my clothes in the cupboard under the stairs, and I had quite a lot of, you know, controllers, switches, routers, firewalls, everything there, and it was very hot. And since I switched to Mist, I have just Mist and a switch, nothing else. Okay, just APs and a switch, nothing else, absolutely zero. And I had to put a dehumidifier in to sort out my issue because it was cold in there.
I'm glad you got the warm Mist hoodie in return then.
Yeah.
At least it keeps you a bit warmer. Any final words, Starling first? Starling, any final words for people, you know, considering the class, the tests?
No, I just think really just if you can get on a class, especially with it being virtual, it might be easier to access at the moment. So I'd definitely recommend it. It was a great class virtually. The course, the content was great. I knew it was going to be because it was Peter doing it. So it was nice to actually see it and attend and do it. And then the exams are really good as well. So I'm really happy to have 2 extra professional certifications to my name now. A good way to start 2021.
Thank you. And Mr. Dering, any final words?
Final words, yes. Amazing use cases covered in labs and demos, like really mind-bending. Like try to imagine what is the impact of CCI on the performance of your Wi-Fi clients. How many clients do you have to notice, you know, degradation in the real world performance? We test it all with the iPerf, you know, with 1 client, 2 clients, 4 clients, 5 clients, and then we see what is the impact of the CCI, you know, channel contention, channel interference. That was amazing. You might be thinking, what can I use these APIs for? Okay, it's like a buzzword everyone is using. API, machine learning, AI. It's like, what the hell is that? So you can see firsthand and do it yourself in a lab. Some form of automation, like how do you, let's say, I don't know, like rename a wireless LAN across multiple sites, or create multiple wireless LANs across one site with just, like a one press of a button. Um, so you better understand the benefits of it. Like, what can you achieve? Like, really, what can you achieve? I know it's like just a basic stuff there. It's not something super advanced, but it will get you started. You will install your own environment, your own Postman. You will start, putting the HTTP requests using, the Mist RESTful APIs. You will use webhooks. It's just the beginning, but you will know what the webhook is. You will know what the, RESTful API is, what tools to use to start using it. Then just think about the real use case that you want to solve. Like, think of it, I don't know, you have your organization and you want to avoid human errors while deploying multiple sites across your organization. How do you do it? Do you go to GUI and click for 100 sites, or do you use automation through Python and APIs to do it for you? Human error is no longer a problem there. So that's amazing stuff. Also, you can see the the Raymond has shown us his environment when it comes to the RTLS, BLE, directional arrays. This is a very Mist specific topic. So when it comes to radio frequency locating with BLE, you cannot do it better than Mist with BLE. So the RF section is done. It's complete. You can't do it any better. And you learn how it works. What is the impact of multipath fading on the accuracy of locating your clients? How does putting an access point too close to a metal surface changes the way the access point sees your client physically on a floor plan? This kind of stuff. It's like you cannot just, read a book about that and learn about it. You have to see it live. And attending class like this with an industry veteran like Peter or Raymond, it's no better way of doing it. And that's it from me, really.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you so much, Matt, Mac, and Peter, for joining. Lawrence, thank you so much for setting everything up in a heartbeat. I mean, literally, still a week ago, this was just an idea, and you put this all together in like 2 hours. Thank you so much. Any final words before you head out to Los Gatos for a cup of coffee?
I sure can't wait. I put it in the chat window a couple of times. You can find the course description, juniper.net/course, MIST. We'll get you right there, and the same juniper.net/cert, JNCIS and JNCIA-Mist AI. We'll take you both directly to those. Read up on them, grab yourself a spot. I'll also say thank you much to all 4 of you today. Fantastic session. It really has made me question my home wireless setup greatly. I might have to do you all up for some favors, but fantastic. I'll let you, any final words on you all? I'll stop talking.
All right. I think that's it for today's session. There was one question about a recording. Will it be available later on? And I'm guessing based on the fact that you are recording, the answer is yes. And this will be available on the Juniper website, right? As well as Wi-Fi Ninja's website.
Yeah, we'll go through the process of getting it all packaged up and ready for consumption. We'll get it posted and appropriately at Juniper. We'll get it over the Wi-Fi Ninjas. Just give us a little bit of time to do that, and I'll send out a communication. We know everyone that registered, not everyone could attend. I see somebody just had an outage in progress. I'll send out an email notification when that's all ready to everyone that registered, regardless of whether or not they attended today.
Thanks so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining and taking your time. I see most of the attendees stayed this long, so I know some of you had to go to meetings. We really appreciate your time. Hope this was useful. Let us know how we did. You guys have us on Twitter, on LinkedIn, anywhere. Contact us. Let us know how we did. Send public feedback, private feedback, what have you. That's the only way we'll make this better every time. Thanks so much, and until next time, let's do this again, Lawrence, Matt, and Peter. How about that?
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
Let's do it every day.
Cheers. Talk to you later, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.